Okay, this is going to be a pretty wild video. There's going to be a lot of emotional things we're going to be discussing. The first topic is we're going to take a look at the wildfires in the territories, specifically around Yellowknife, and Justin Trudeau's comments around that, because everybody from Yellowknife actually got evacuated before the start of the weekend. And then we're going to talk about some newfound evidence of the residential school graves, which is somehow a controversial topic. And I'm new to the controversy. I have been under the full impression that there are residential school graves and that the government or Canada in totality did a bunch of horrible things to Indigenous children. It turns out that people think that there's not residential school graves. So we're going to take a look at some of the things that Justin Trudeau said about that and some newfound evidence. It's going to be pretty emotional, like I said. So just a warning. I'm just providing what I'm seeing online and giving you the resources so that you can make an informed opinion. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps grow the channel. And without further ado, let's take a look at Justin Trudeau back at work. Prime Minister Trudeau ends his Tofino vacation. Oh, let me play the world's tiniest violin for him. And we'll visit Wildfire Evacuation Center. Good job, Trudeau, on doing your gosh darn job. Prime Minister's plane, a Bombardier Challenger jet operated by the Air Force, departed Tofino Long Beach Airport around 2:45 p.m. Vacation's over. Trudeau is expected to fly to Edmonton, where he was scheduled to visit a wildfire evacuation center that has been set up for the from those fleeing the raging wildfires in the Northwest Territories, mostly around Yellowknife. But I'm sure there's people from everywhere right now, because as we've seen in a previous video that I made, the territories is pretty much all on fire, something that has never been seen before. The Edmonton visit will be closed to the news media, was added to Trudeau's official itinerary Friday afternoon. He's expected to return to Ottawa following the stopover. Trudeau arrived in Tofino for the 8-day vacation on August 10th. So let me get this straight. Trudeau gets separated, divorced, whatever you want to call it. Then they go on a trip together to Tofino, while the literal country is on fire. Northwest Territories is on fire. 20,000 plus people from Yellowknife alone have evacuated. And now Kelowna and the entirety of Okanagan is on fire. You have these fires that are going over the hill passes, and it looks like hell on earth. It's insane. And Trudeau still, despite all of these things happening, still remained on vacation with his separated ex-wife, whatever they are, and their children. I don't know, man. That's a little weird. You kind of hope that like the leader of the country would just put his personal stuff to the side and be like, oh, okay, yeah, let's make some calls and get this happening. Tofino can wait for, you know, when I'm not Prime Minister of Canada. A little bizarre to me. I understand people need an outlet. They need to relax. They need to do this and that. But you're managing a country which is kind of literally burning down, quite literally burning down. Very bizarre. Prime Minister and his wife of 18 years, Sophie, announced 2 weeks ago that they were separating but still plan to spend time together as a family. On Thursday, Sophie shared a series of photos of the family trip on her Instagram account where she espoused the raw beauty of Tofino. And there it is. Look at that. I mean, Tofino is beautiful. I absolutely love it there. Oh, that's where they stayed. Cool. That's a nice little spot. Must be nice, eh? All right. So she's posted that. I'm sure she's got like her comments off or selected. Oh, there you go. You suck. Your husband sucks and your family sucks. You let Canadians down. The first comment I read on her Instagram. Oh my God. They can't do anything anywhere, post anything anywhere without getting trolled or heckled. Let's see what Trudeau has to say at the evacuation center in Edmonton. And then we're going to get into the residential schools. So if you're waiting for that, just stick around for a few more seconds. And I promise you we'll get to that very, very shortly.
I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I thank the Mayor of Edmonton, Amarjeet. Thank you so much for all your leadership. It really is a reflection of the extraordinary generosity, not just of people in Edmonton, but people right across the country, welcoming up their home, opening up their homes and their communities to people fleeing what has been an extraordinarily difficult summer. Cyril, thank you for all your leadership through the government.
Why does it sound like Trudeau is always talking in a state of panic? The country's on fire, and I mean Edmonton and Calgary are totally being like flooded. And I just want to thank the premier. Well, not the premier because that's Danielle Smith, but everybody else who's not conservative. Mostly just I want to thank the Liberals and the NDP for taking people in a time of need. Why does he talk like this? Who voted for this guy? This is ridiculous.
Of Alberta is welcoming, supporting people as you've dealt with fires this summer as well, and continue to being there to open up hearts and homes and communities to people fleeing horrific situations is really important, and a great example of how different orders of government can and will and must work together to be there to support people. And Caroline, thank you so much, not just for your leadership in the government
He doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to be there. He's not into the speech that he's trying to give. You're a minute and he's not even talking into the microphone. He's you're doing a broadcast, buddy. You're doing a broadcast. Speaking to the microphone. If you want to thank person to your left or person to your right, or I guess it's mirrored because we're looking at a camera, then do so, but talking to the microphone and look into the camera. Very bizarre behavior. He doesn't want to be there, and I'm pretty sure that he had a glasses tan from his little vacation. Very weird. Very weird. But as you can see on CTV News, it's still breaking news. It's still an emergency, and I hope that everyone got out safely out of Yellowknife. And if you're in and around surrounding areas, please, please, please be careful, because, I mean, the Territories has never, ever seen this in the history of ever. And now let's segue into the next story, the residential school. So if I'm going to talk about what I know for residential schools, it's pretty much nothing. It's just mainstream media. I'm not here to debunk anything. This isn't a smear campaign story. This is, I found some breaking news from a independent media on the internet in Canada, and then I did a little bit of researching, and I'm just kind of piecing things together. The government of Canada has said, for those who aren't fully caught up, that the Canadian government themselves many years ago took a bunch of residential school children and buried them, like killed them or something along those lines, and hid them under schools or churches, something along those lines. And it's all on Indigenous land. Now, the legalities of it, from what I am kind of aware of through the grapevine, is that the RCMP or municipal police or military police or anyone affiliated with the government who isn't First Nations is not allowed to go and take a look at it. So how do they know that there are, graveyards or graves under these schools or churches? Through LiDAR technology, these radar type things that penetrate the ground, and you can see that there was some sort of disturbance under all of these buildings. They have not dug anything up. There have never been remains that have been found that I'm aware of. And we're going to take a look at some of the Google searches that I've done, where I've accumulated a bunch of this evidence. It's kind of weird. So before we get into it, let's take a look at this apology that Justin Trudeau did about the residential school graves.
I want to begin by addressing the news that hundreds of unmarked graves have been found near the former residential school in Cowessess First Nation. This was an incredibly harmful government policy that was Canada's reality for many, many decades. And Canadians today are horrified and ashamed of how our country behaved, about a policy that ripped kids from their homes, from their communities, from their culture and their language, and forced assimilation upon them. This is a piece of our past, of decades past, that resonates and echoes and is and continues to be a lived reality of consequences for many, many Canadians today.
It's kind of the GIFs. So that's kind of been the narrative. And if you're watching this, that might still be how you've been informed of this. And that's to the extent that I've been informed, is the media broadcast, and that's it. I haven't looked into it. I haven't watched any videos. I haven't gone on different internet threads or trying to do my own due diligence to get to the bottom of it. until right now. So we're going to take a look at some of the stuff here. So when you do a Google search of why can't Canadian police inspect residential school graves? And before we continue, I want to reiterate once again, I'm not debunking this. I'm not saying that this is wrong, that the government is lying. I'm not saying that they're correct. I'm just taking a look at stuff. That's it. So before you leave the video and like, screw Mr. Sunshine Baby, he's gone totally crazy. That's not the case at all. I went crazy a long time. No, I'm just kidding. Let's take a look at this here. So why can't Canadian police inspect residential school graves? Because that's what I've been told. I've been told because it's on protected Indigenous land that Canadian police, whether it's the federal, provincial, or municipal, are not allowed to go on to the property and take a look at the graves and look for any remains because it's Indigenous. And the Indigenous communities have said, no, you're not allowed to do that. Stay away. So that's interesting because no one has dug up any of the graves. No remains have been found. So when you refresh the page and try and get an answer of why can't police go, there is none. This is what you're given. So who is digging up residential school graves? Let's start there. According to a new report by the Office of Independent Special Interlocutor for Missing Children and Unmarked Burial Sites, that's one hell of a title for a job, trespassers with shovels have been spotted on the former Kamloops Indian Residential School site. But that's it. Trespassers with shovels are the only people that have actually dug it up. There has been no government official, no law enforcement, no anybody. And that brings us to this right here. Keenan Becks runs the Counter Signal Independent Media, and he says, after claims of a mass grave of children's bodies at a residential school, a physical excavation of the site has found no bodies. What was called a genocide turned out to be a pile of underground rocks. So this is kind of interesting because this goes against what the government has been telling people for years. So when you go to his website, you click on that link. I'm not going to go past the paywall here. If you want to read that, you're more than welcome to go to the Counter Signal website yourself. In a significant turn of events, the excavation of Catholic Church basement on the grounds of a former Manitoba residential school has yielded no evidence of human remains. The result of the 4-week excavation at the former residential school was announced quietly late Friday afternoon. By using radar technology, 14 anomalies were previously detected at the site. This led to frenzied speculation by the media that mass graves existed, consisting of Indigenous children who were forced to attend the residential schools. So that's kind of crazy breaking news because it goes against, again, what everything either on Google or that the government has been telling us. If this were to be true, I haven't heard this anywhere other than the Counter Signal. So is it credible? I don't see why it wouldn't be, but let's take a look again at some of the Google searches. Residential school graves in Canada. So this shows that how many graves have been dug up at the residential schools. Since the confirmation of community knowledge of suspected unmarked graves in Kamloops, First Nations across Canada have located evidence of the remains of more than 2,300 children in suspected unmarked graves at or near former residential schools and Indian hospitals, according to the report. So this is talking about across Canada, specifically Kamloops, and Keenan Becks and the Counter Signal are talking about just Kamloops and the 200 unmarked graves. So it's a little bit misleading because is it true? Is it not true? The only way to really find out the truth is to actually dig things up and have it publicly broadcasted on all of the main channels that have been reporting on this since the beginning. CTV, CBC, Global News, all federal members of parliament, all premiers of each province and territory across Canada. If this is in fact been some sort of misunderstanding, there needs to be a massive public retraction because right now the narrative across Canada is that there are thousands potentially of these graves where children were buried because of atrocities that the Canadian government has done. I'm not saying the Canadian government has never committed atrocities. Of course, we all know the history of Canada and, how that's been handled with the Indigenous population way back in the day. I'm not saying that people are exempt from the crimes that they have committed in the past. But when it comes to the graves specifically, we've been told one thing and now you're being presented something that's the complete opposite of what we have been told potentially. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring to your guys' attention and let you know, or ask you the question rather, what do you think about this? Are you still thinking that, okay, the graves are there, no, Canada did commit this? Or do you think, maybe we should dig this up and start to, see if this is actually true or not? Because it seems to be that it's been mostly speculation using LiDAR, radar technology, and no one has actually gone and physically done anything until just recently, but it's been swept under the rug. I wonder why. Dun, dun, dun. Interesting stuff. I'd like to encourage you to stay subscribed, or subscribe if you haven't yet. Hopefully by now I've earned it. Turn those post notifications on so you can be notified of upcoming videos. Drop a like on the video. Why not? It's free to do so. And that's where we're going to end it. Thanks for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.